December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor. American sailors look up to see aircraft moving with impossible grace. Fighters banking sharply, climbing steeply, turning inside anything sent to intercept them. Within minutes, U.S. aircraft are burning on the ground, shot down before they can even fight back. This is not a new American failure. This is a new kind of enemy aircraft. The Mitsubishi A6M Zero. When the Zero entered combat, it shattered every assumption Allied air forces held about fighter design. It could outturn, outclimb, and outrange almost every aircraft it faced. In the opening months of the Pacific War, it achieved what few fighters ever have, total air superiority. The Zero was not powerful. It was not fast by later standards. It was something far more dangerous. It was perfectly optimized for the war Japan expected to fight. The story of the Zero begins years before Pearl Harbor, with a demand that seemed impossible. In 1937, the Imperial Japanese Navy issued a specification for a new carrier-based fighter. It had to exceed 500 km per hour, climb to 3,000 meters in under 4 minutes, carry heavy armament, and, most critically, have extraordinary range. Japanese carriers would operate far from home. Their fighters had to escort bombers hundreds of kilometers and still fight. Western engineers would have rejected the requirement outright. Japanese engineers did not. The task fell to Mitsubishi and a young, brilliant engineer named Jiro Horikoshi. Horikoshi understood that Japan could not compete with the industrial power of the United States. The Zero would never win by brute force. It would win by efficiency. Every gram mattered. The A6MS structure used a new aluminum alloy, extra super duralumin, stronger and lighter than anything Japan had previously produced. The airframe was stripped of anything unnecessary. No armor plating for the pilot. No self-sealing fuel tanks. No excess structural reinforcement. The result was an aircraft of astonishing lightness. Fully loaded, the Zero weighed less than many Allied fighters did empty. Powered by a modest Nakajima Sakae radial engine producing around 940 horsepower, the Zero should have been average at best. Instead, its low weight transformed that power into performance. It climbed faster than its opponents. Turned tighter. Lost less energy in maneuvers. And it could fly farther than any carrier fighter in the world. Early Zeros had a combat radius exceeding 1,600 kilometers with drop tanks. Allied pilots simply could not believe it. Fighters were not supposed to have that kind of range. The armament was equally shocking. Two 20mm Type 99 cannons in the wings. Two 7.7mm machine guns in the nose. For 1940, this was devastating firepower. Bombers disintegrated under short bursts. Fighters were destroyed before they could react. When the Zero first appeared over China in 1940, it annihilated Chinese and Soviet-supplied aircraft. When it swept across Southeast Asia and the Pacific in 1941 and 1942, the results were catastrophic for the Allies. American P-40s. British Hurricanes. Dutch Brewster Buffaloes. All were outclassed. Allied pilots reported Zeros performing turns that seemed aerodynamically impossible. Attempts to dogfight ended in death. The Zero could simply turn inside them and fire. For months, the Zero dominated the skies. But its brilliance came at a price. The very choices that made the Zero unbeatable early in the war also made it fragile. Without armor or self-sealing tanks, even a few hits could be fatal. A single .50 caliber round in the wrong place could ignite fuel vapor and tear the aircraft apart. The problem was surviving long enough to exploit that weakness. Allied pilots had to unlearn everything they thought they knew. New tactics emerged. The Thach Weave. High-speed diving attacks. Boom and zoom fighting. Never turn with a Zero. Never slow down. Use speed, altitude, and teamwork. At the same time, new aircraft entered service. The F-6F Hellcat. The F-4U Corsair. Heavier. Faster. More durable. Armed with 6.50 caliber machine guns and protected pilots. The balance shifted. By 1943, experienced Japanese pilots were being lost faster than they could be replaced. Japan's training pipeline could not match American industrial output. The Zero remained agile, but it was no longer dominant. Later variants attempted to fix its flaws. More powerful engines. Thicker skin. Limited armor. But every improvement added weight, eroding the very advantage that made the Zero special. By the end of the war, the Zero was obsolete. Yet its impact cannot be overstated. The Mitsubishi A6M Zero forced the Allies to rethink fighter combat from the ground up. It reshaped tactics, aircraft design, and pilot training. It exposed the danger of underestimating an enemy's engineering philosophy. Today, the Zero is remembered as both a masterpiece and a cautionary tale. A fighter that achieved perfection for a brief moment in history, then paid the price for it. In 1941, it shocked the world. And for a time, it ruled the skies.